Hello and welcome to Down and Dirty with Darcy. I'm your host, Darcy Smith, also known as Career Coach Darcy. We are here to get down and dirty about careers, uncovering salaries, wild stories, backgrounds, and more from guests with some of the most eccentric professions each week. This podcast is presented by Onomy. Welcome back to Down and Dirty with Darcy. I have Elle with me here today, and I'm so excited. She's going to introduce herself for you, so take it away, Elle.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm so happy to be here. I am Elle, also known as Big ELLERGY. I am an event producer. I have my own business called Elle Inspired Productions, where we produce events, socially, corporate, whatever you can imagine. And I'm also an events project manager for LinkedIn, where I create more events and experiences for our young professionals under emerging talent.
I love this. How long have you been at LinkedIn?
I've been at LinkedIn for 2.5 years now.
Oh my gosh, that's a long time. Yeah. And I have so many questions around how you got that job and how you leveraged your kind of side hustle, but full-time job doing this on your own, and talked about that in your interview, because I feel like that's something scary that people are like, should I talk about my business in an interview? Should I not? Is it going to help me? So definitely something we're going to dive into, but I want to hear about your background. Where are you from? Like, give us a little info. Tell us all about Big ELLERGY.
Yes. Oh, I love hearing it. I really do. So I am a city girl. So I was born and raised in San Francisco. I dipped out of there because I was just like, I need some new experiences. And I went down to San Diego State for college. Mm-hmm. I was chasing that American dream. I majored in business, thought I was going to come back home, work downtown in like a big high rise, wanted some C-suite job. I tried it and I was like, this is not for me. Like, first of all, I'm not walking around in hills all day downtown San Francisco. But I don't know, it wasn't speaking to me at all. And event planning, I didn't major in it at all. I actually didn't learn that hospitality, gosh, I'm going to embarrass myself, was like a major in college until I think the beginning of my senior year.
That's not embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not a common thing. Sure. It's not a common thing. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I guess that's a better way to put it. I just wasn't, I wasn't familiar with the territory because it wasn't something I grew up really wanting to do. Mm-hmm. But it just kind of happened organically, the energy created experiences with people. And I started really dipping my toes into it and just telling people that I wanted to do it. When I got back home to the Bay Area, my sister was moving to LA and she's like, just come down here, start a business. So I started a business. I started an Instagram page. That was about as far as I got. I started Instagram handle. Right. And I don't even remember the name that it was under, but I tested the waters down there trying to get some mentors or internships and things like that. LA wasn't for me. No shade to LA, but I came back to the Bay.
I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
Yeah, it wasn't free. But it was really through word of mouth that I was telling my dad, like, I really want to get into event planning, trying to reach out to different folks, using my network, because it was very unfamiliar territory. And so by way of his coworker's best friend got me introduced. She introduced me to some people in the industry. And I just started diving into hospitality. I went into catering first, which was a beast. Love catering. Yeah. It taught me a lot. Very, very detailed. And even during working with that catering company, I was very upfront that I had a business and these were my goals. That owner knew I was never going to stay there long term, but it was an amazing stepping stone that taught me a lot. And so I was there for about almost 3 years. And 6 months before COVID, I was like, it's time. I saved up my coins. I'm ready to go full self entrepreneurship on my own.
Of course.
And then of course, good old pandemic and the Rona came knocking at everybody's door. And so, I pivoted. We all love that word. For the first year, I was creating experience kits for folks, staging tablescapes and things like that, just to stay relevant and, build relationships and things like that. But about a year into the pandemic, I was getting a little nervous. I was like, okay, I literally can't do my job because all of these, mandates. And so a friend of mine, best friend actually, who was a recruiter at LinkedIn at the time, she saw a job posting and she's like, hey, they have event planners here, which I did not know. I thought in the corporate space, everyone's like executive assistants, plans events. I'm like, no one's spending money to do
Right.
what, their assistants
That's
can
the
do for
job.
them.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. And dedicated to fully just experiences. And so, I creeped into that manager's LinkedIn DMs for a little bit. Didn't get an immediate response. I was probably bugging her for a few months. And then, yeah, I got an interview. Clearly did great. And then
I love you.
I've been here ever since. So 2.5 years in, I was very upfront about the my business again as well. But yeah, that's kind of how I dabbled into both my business and the corporate world.
I love this so much. Okay, so we're going to start with after graduating and you went to get that corporate job. What job was that? What were you doing right after school?
So it was a marketing job. So it was a marketing agency. And at that time, I knew I wanted to do events. And so them being great salespeople, they were like, well, this is events marketing. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. They're like, you can design it. It'll be themed out. Girl, when I tell you, I got to that office and was given a phone book and it said, okay, call everybody on the East Coast first. And then you call everybody on the West Coast first and ask them if they need swag, if they need pins, or if they are planning a summer luau and they want you to find.
Stop.
And I was like, this is not what I signed up for.
You're like, so this is a sales job. This is not marketing and this is not event
No,
planning or events of any
no.
sort. Do you remember
Mm-mm.
what you were being paid? What that job paid?
Oh, wow. Back then, oh my God.
Yeah.
Back then, I think I was around, I think it was in the 40s. I don't think it was above 50 because I remember the job after that came between that 50, $60,000 range.
Okay.
I did negotiate. I knew better back then, business 101. I did negotiate a bit there. But
Good
yeah, it
job. That's
was,
amazing. I feel like a lot of
yeah.
people coming out of school and like, right, a couple years out, it's not as
Mhm.
common. And I'm so happy now that there's social media out there that people are really like,
Oh, yeah.
it's okay. Like, here's a script. Here's what you should say. And worst
Yeah.
comes to worst, they're going to say no, but you're in the same boat. So that's so amazing that you were
Yeah.
able to negotiate. So what year did you actually, I know you started the Instagram, but what year did you start your business? And tell us if it's more wedding planning, like what type of
Mhm.
events, birthdays, like give us the rundown.
Yeah. So EIP, as I call it for short, Ellen Inspired Productions, that kicked off officially in 2015. And so at first it was a lot of small like holiday events, baby showers, smaller kind of budgeted events. And then eventually it moved more into weddings. And so, especially with LinkedIn now just being heavily corporate events, weddings just come more organically to my business. So it's focused primarily on creating memories for everybody, all y'all lovebirds out there.
Yay, I love that. And then of course I'm going to ask you about pricing because that's my favorite
Oh,
question in the
yeah.
world. So if you're open to it, give us the dirt.
Yeah.
So when you first started, cuz what I really want people to take from this is that it's okay to start the side hustle, to start somewhere small, even if
Yeah.
it's I'm only charging $100 or I'm doing this or that to get the
Yeah.
reviews, all that sort of stuff, and then to see where you've
Mhm.
gotten to now. So can you walk
Yeah.
us through what you used to price things out at when you first started the business and then where you're at now?
Yeah. Yeah. So with event planning, there's a bunch of different ways you can price it out. And so obviously like doing your research and figuring out what event planners in your area are charging is huge because even California from the Bay Area to the LA, it's drastically different. And it just ranges, based on where you're at and how experienced you are. I was fortunate to have someone who was very transparent about what I should be pricing, what her pricing was, which is why I pay it forward now. And I'm like, let's talk money. Let's talk about what we're making out
Yes.
here so that, we're not undercharging or devaluing our work and getting kind of stuck in a bubble that, we can't, that's hard to get out of. So when I first started, I started charging flat service fees. So just kind of figuring out how many hours it took me to actually produce an event. So how my services work back then, I was taking it all. I was doing day of coordination, month of coordination, partial service, and then full service. And I want to say that like my day of coordination was probably my day of and month was probably like $1,000.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't say that to be like only $1,000 because back then I was like, hell yeah, give me fucking $1,000, I'll take it.
Hell yeah.
But there's so much time that goes into it that I had to learn. It was just a learning curve. But I think my full service was maybe $2,500 back then, and
Wow.
I was fortunate to still be living with my mother. So, I didn't have any big expenses, but I had definitely boxed myself into attracting clients that then, that was what it aligned with their budget. And so as an event planner, photos and marketing is huge, not just word of mouth, but what we're able to design. And if I'm charging such a small budget, I'm attracting clients who also have that small event budget. And they don't always have room in the budget for design or decor extra that we as an event planner who really prioritizes maybe design, it just kind of like the ROI on pricing my services at that range wasn't really beneficial.
Right.
So
And
eventually,
just to interrupt you real quick, just return on
yeah,
investment is what you're referencing there, just for people who might not know that term.
yes,
But yeah, so the
absolutely.
time spent and everything that goes into it before to be able to price it
Mm-hmm,
out. Because that's the thing, especially in the wedding industry, or really, I mean, events in general, there's so
mm-hmm.
many different things about it in terms of, are you actually going out and buying all of the decor? Are you designing everything? Are
Yeah.
you helping with
Mm-hmm.
making sure the pictures are being done properly? Are you there the whole entire
Yes.
event? Like, how many things you
Mm-hmm.
have to price out? I was like, I don't even know where to start. So, okay, starting at
Yeah.
$1,000 ish day of, and then month, full kind of
Mm-hmm.
spectrum, 2,500. Okay, now
Yeah.
where are we at today?
So now I don't offer day of or month of. It's just not. I want to be careful because I know when we put things out on the internet, not to say that they're not worth it, but I am fortunate to have LinkedIn as a source of income as well. But also as I grow my team, just realizing which services are worth, our ROI, our return on investment, and everything that falls under those return on investments. So now I only offer partial service and full service. And my partial service starts at $9,000 and my full service starts at 11.
Okay. And can you explain what partial service and full service is? What that means?
Yeah. So I'll start with full service. So full service is basically not for clients who necessarily are like, I'm too busy, hands off, plan everything. Those tend to be most of the clients that I get with full service. Maybe they're really slammed or they're med school or something like that. But I manage, or my other event planner on the team manages all of your vendors. So venue walkthroughs, rentals, design, florals, any vendor that you could imagine that you would need to produce and execute, as well as be there on the day. We are supporting that for you with that full service, as well as managing budget, all that nitty gritty, being not only just the messenger, but negotiating on your behalf, combing through all these contracts, telling the vendors, yeah, no, they don't need that. They got me there. You're not going to overcharge them for that. So, that's what comes in the full service. Now, partial service, you still get majority of that. It just dwindles down a little bit on which vendors that we actually provide that full management of from the beginning. So, something like a partial, with that, you're sourcing your own venue. We'll get suggestions for you. But it's a lot of the kind of the venue and then the easy lift vendors like your DJ or your photographer. You can start those conversations and say, hey, I need you on this day for 8 hours. And then we'll
Got it.
come in and we'll really get in the nitty gritty. Still supporting you all the way, but we just share some of the relationship and the responsibilities when it comes to that package.
Got it. So coming from a standpoint for, I know nothing about weddings. I've never been married. I've been to weddings
Yeah.
and I love them and they're great. But my very not a lot of knowledge, my thought process has changed a little bit just from talking with you.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I always thought that a planner or like a wedding planner, they kind of just were there to like coordinate the whole day. Maybe they would talk to you like a couple weeks before, something like
Mhm.
that. I had
Yeah.
no idea you guys actually would negotiate and things like that. So now in my
Oh,
mind, I'm
yeah.
thinking, let's say just for easy numbers, price is 10 grand, right? So 10
Mhm.
grand, if you consider all of the vendors, if you're doing a wedding where you're not just going through one venue and you're pulling a bunch of different vendors in and all these things,
Yeah.
you don't, for one, your time is money. So now that's already time. Then this is me doing your sales pitch. Ready? Your time is money. And then you have all of the negotiating that, again, you don't really have time for. You just think, okay, yeah, this is their price, I'm going to sign this, whatever. So
Yeah.
I would think, I hire you, you save me essentially 10 grand, and then it's just kind of a wash, because at that point I have everything off my plate and you've negotiated that money out of it, right? So again, this is me pitching your services.
Yes and no, because I don't want to, set the precedent that, oh, okay, I want to see 10 grand's worth of savings on
No,
my
of
budget
course
tracker at
not.
the end of But, event planning is a total convenience. And I tell every client this, or potential client, I know I am not needed. I am wanted. I'm very transparent with my clients. I won't take on a client if I'm half of your budget. I just won't do that to you or myself. It's not going to be a happy relationship. So while yes, you can definitely save time, because there are vendors out there who, if there's not an event planner being that forefront, they slide in a lot of extra things, or they say, well, you need this and you need that. And as a person who doesn't plan an event, they don't expect you to know that. Right. But when you're coming with the support of a planner, you do kind of mitigate all the extra nonsense that some vendors can try and tack on. So yes, I do believe that there are cost savings, and some vendors, or event planners will pass on some discounts or whatnot that they get. So yeah, there's definitely some cost savings there, but it is a total convenience, and I know that. And so, if you have it in your budget, it's great. This is no plug for my services, but I will say, even me, I'm getting married this year and I have a wedding planner, and I know it's a convenience, but there is a lot of behind the scenes. It's not just on the day. There's a lot of different titles as well that I even had to learn starting the business. There's coordinators, planners, producers, designers, and they all have different things. And they will tell you, oh no, I don't design, I just coordinate, or I don't produce, I'll just plan on the day. So there's a lot of different nuances that you got to learn out there.
Wow. Yeah. I would have no idea, but I think like I said, my thoughts have definitely shifted, and I completely agree with you. And I love that you say that to your clients. I mean, that just shows that you're just a genuine person and, to work with.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel the same way. Like, I offer services of career coaching. People are coming to me in a vulnerable state that do not have a job potentially, and they're looking for a job.
Yeah.
They're spending their money, their hard-earned money, on me and saying, hey, help me find a job. And if I feel like they're coming out of a desperation, or this is my last of my money, like, I tell them, hey, like, there's a lot of free services out there, and I want you to make sure that you're getting the best, but I do cost a fee. And this is, I'm super upfront about that. So I just commend you on that too, because 100%, like, having a wedding planner is definitely convenience, and being able to do that is awesome. Okay. Shifting gears a little bit. So moving into LinkedIn, I talk about LinkedIn like I work there, because because I love it. Honestly, if we're talking about, anyone listening that's job searching, if we're talking about the best place to find a job, number one, you can network there. You can send messages, all those sorts of things. You can't do that on other job boards. Number two, it's so clean. It's nice. It's great. I feel like happy when I'm on their page. I'm not getting spammed. But three, I've now talked to you. We briefly talked the other day just to kind of prep for this call and this podcast. I'm such corporate all the time. But yeah, and you were telling me about like summer shutdowns. They like really like help out their employees. I want to hear more about your life at LinkedIn. It seems like you really love it. And I love to talk to people that like their job. So tell me more about it.
Yeah. I'm obsessed. We'll start there. No, I wholeheartedly love LinkedIn. Now I will say every company has its ins and outs and things like that, but generally, what LinkedIn gives, the energy it gives, and the energy it almost demands of you to give back to maintain that culture, it wouldn't have this reputation if folks weren't really like not only drinking the juice, but like really vibing and like believing and giving what it's given back to us. So yeah, LinkedIn was my first corporate job, or tech job, I should say. I've worked for banks and small businesses and, other big corporations, but tech, I was kind of like a fish out of water coming into here. I was like, I don't know nothing about nothing. It was just like the same way I didn't know nothing about nothing, event planning.
Yeah.
Same thing with this when I got into LinkedIn. But I told myself when I decided to look for a job, because when I left the catering company to pursue my own business, I was like, I ain't working for nobody else ever again. Like, it's only a real entrepreneur. Like, it's just gonna be me. Now I'm like, oh no, baby girl gonna have some sort of reoccurring income coming in, because God forbid another pandemic roll through these streets again.
Right.
And
Yeah.
so I told myself, if I am going to give my time, that's going to take away from my business and my baby, I'm going to show up authentically myself. You know, big Ellergy and all. Ellergy came from a coworker in LinkedIn. Like, that's just, you know,
Oh
how
my
much the
gosh.
culture there is amazing. And so
Yeah.
in that interview, you know, I dressed all color and all, you know, I talked about my business, and you know, I came in and I felt like open arms and welcomed, and you know, it just so happened that I was still able to do what I love, which is create experiences. Now I'm just doing them with a greater impact. Weddings are great, and I think they're amazing memories, but the type of experiences I'm creating at LinkedIn is just phenomenal. And the culture makes me want to keep giving and giving the talent that we're trying to attract in and talk
Right.
about it so damn much, like I'm doing right now.
Yeah, you're literally I'm when I met you, I felt like you were so genuine about loving where you worked, and I was like, "Ah, this is the energy that I
Yeah.
need. I love when people love their jobs." And unfortunately, it's not that common. So when I do get that, I get so excited. Okay,
Yeah.
so I are you able to kind of like share a little bit about like, for one, I would love to know like your exact title at LinkedIn, because I want to help other
Mhm.
people that are maybe in a similar role or something. And then like what
Yeah.
your salary range is or what you make at LinkedIn.
Yeah, yeah, I fact checked that. I was like, I'm gonna be real with y'all, but you ain't gonna get me in trouble.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so my exact role at LinkedIn is an events project manager, and that there's a ton of different project managers in any company or tech companies. So diving into making sure you understand what role you're applying for is a whole nother conversation. But
Mhm.
so my title is an events project manager. I started as a contractor and then was converted to a full-time employee. And so when I started as a contractor, um, what was my so we didn't get salaries as a contractor. We were hourly, and I think I was between like a $55-$60 an hour range, with no benefits, no stocks, nothing like that. So traditionally, and I won't speak for all companies because again, LinkedIn's been the first big corporation, but typically contractors, you may make a little bit more because you don't have all the added benefits of unlimited DTO, you know, the shutdowns twice a year, health insurance, all that good stuff. And then I was converted 6 months into my contract. My contract was a year, but you know, they was loving me. So 6 months into my contract, I was converted full time. And so that range that was offered was around 125, 130.
Mhm.
So that technically was higher than what I was making as a contractor. And this is not at all to toot my own horn,
Oh,
but
toot
I
your
say
own
that
horn.
because
Do
just
it.
a little bit. Maybe I'll say a
Do
little
it.
bit.
Yeah.
But you know, I know a lot of people share their experiences, and I don't want people to get stuck thinking, well, if I do convert or they offer me a conversion, that you don't have the right to negotiate or fight for more. Like what's typical for some folks may be typical for them, but don't like negotiate. Like business 101, always freaking negotiate. So that's where I started at, and then you know I've had some raises since then. So yeah, in that six-figure range.
Yeah. I agree with the negotiation. I also completely agree with typically when you're a contractor, you will make more. And you mentioned some things there that people might not know. What is summer shutdown, winter shutdown? Explain what that is.
The best times of the year. So, summer shutdown is what we just came off of. So, the week of the 4th of July, LinkedIn shuts down. And so, for that full week, all full time employees, so this does not include contractors, but it does include our interns. If any of y'all decide to intern with us, we get that whole week off. And then we get the same thing at the end of the year, the last week of the year, right before New Year's. We shut down again, and we get that time off. And it just, again, it speaks to, you know, the culture of LinkedIn. You know, it's just, it's a nice break to know that we have coming up every 6 months. It does not affect any PTO that you may already have on the calendar that's getting counted against you. It's just literally a gift that the company is giving us.
When you told me that yesterday or whenever we talked, I literally
Mhm.
threaded it. I don't know what they're calling threads these days, but I threaded
Oh,
it. I
yeah.
was like, I just learned about LinkedIn's summer shutdowns, and I was so
Yeah.
excited, and I was like, way to go. And everyone was liking it. It was great. So yeah, apparently this
Mhm.
is just a big podcast about LinkedIn. But no, they are doing great things. So I'm all for supporting a good company. So
Yeah.
you mentioned interns, which I find a little bit fascinating because it sounds like
Yeah.
LinkedIn does a great job of bringing in people that may not have experience and things like that. If someone
Oh,
was
yes.
listening to this podcast and interested in an internship,
Mhm.
could they possibly like message you on LinkedIn, or maybe is there
Yeah.
like a good way to like apply? What's a good fit for that
Yeah.
role?
Absolutely. So my direct kind of line of business is emerging talent, and what we call emerging talent, we don't call it campus anymore because LinkedIn is all about untraditional pathways or non-traditional pathways as well. So we do have university interns, which are students who are coming out of different universities, and we also have programs like Year Up, which takes students who may already be in the workforce and maybe they didn't go to college, but that's another pathway. We have apprenticeships. We have a reach program where, say you're an event planner and you wake up one day and you want to be an engineer. Well, go on and apply for that. You tell them all about your story. It's all literally about you as an individual and what your journey has been. That's another pathway to get into LinkedIn from a non-traditional background. But yeah, if y'all wanted to learn about some internships, I plan all of the events and experiences for our university interns, our school programs, our recruiting events. So you can DM me at Indigo on LinkedIn, or you can also visit LinkedIn/careers and pathways, and you can also find information on there.
That is so unbelievable. I didn't know they had all of those. I mean, that's like literally people are like, I need to pivot. How do I do it? This is such a great
Yes.
opportunity. I mean, I'm sure it's very competitive, but still such a great
Mhm.
opportunity. While we're talking about ways people can contact you, tell us where they
Mhm.
can find you on like socials and your business and all of the things.
Yes. So my business on Instagram is linspiredproductions.com. Website is the same. And on LinkedIn, it's technically, I'll give y'all my government name because you may have to type that in. It's Ariel L Indigo on LinkedIn. And yeah, I do respond. Don't just hit me with a, hey, follow me. Put a little energy in it, please.
Yes.
And I'll be happy. I set up coffee chats all the time. I invite people into an office. Good Lord. Don't hit me and say, hey, bring me to the office. Like, we'll have to get to know each other. But I really am all for paying it forward. So I love to help any of y'all young professionals coming up in the world. Happy to help y'all.
Yeah, I was going to say, be careful what you say. You're going to get a bunch of little haze in your inbox. Also, if you're listening to this and not
Yeah.
watching it on YouTube, she's wearing a shirt that says Big L Energy. So that's why we keep
Yeah.
referencing it. It's so funny. So yeah, I just thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us and more about your business, because I know there's so many people out there that may have some side hustles or just interested. I work with people all the time that are wanting to get into event planning. So to know that it's
Yeah.
out there from also a corporate standpoint, you can have a solid
Yes.
paid salary, things like that. I think it's really cool to understand. So thank you so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon, and thanks again. Bye.
All right. Bye.
Thanks for listening to That On Me podcast. Onomy is a creator-led educational platform that teaches you the things you wished you learned in school so you can thrive in adulthood. Onomy lessons are completely free, and they're taught by some of your favorite creators from around the internet. Head to onomy.co to start learning about things like budgeting, investing, taxes, how to thrive in your relationships, how to find your dream job, and so much more. That's onomy.co, onomy.co. See you there.